NVIDIA is no longer just building AI chips. The company is now worth more than $5 trillion, making it one of the most valuable companies in the world. And according to a new CNBC report, NVIDIA has now committed more than $40 billion across the AI ecosystem in 2026 alone.
All told, NVIDIA has committed over $9 billion in equity stakes across these deals in just 4 months. And that doesn't include the billions in purchase commitments attached to these deals. Since January, NVIDIA has put $2 billion in CoreWeave, $2 billion each in Coherent and Lumentum for optical components, and this week, another stake in Corning for fiber. Add it all up, and NVIDIA is embedding itself into every link of the AI supply chain. Compute, networking, and how the physical cabling as well, just this week. The more partners that build around NVIDIA's architecture, the harder it is for customers to switch to AMD or Google's custom silicon. Now, this flurry of deals has definitely drawn criticism for being circular. NVIDIA is backing these very companies that buy its chips, and in IREN's case, leasing compute right back.
Not just into compute, but to optics, to fiber, to AI cloud infrastructure, data centers, and power capacity. In other words, NVIDIA is no longer just selling GPUs, they are financing the entire AI supply chain. And what's interesting is many of the sectors NVIDIA is investing in into areas we've already been discussing on this channel for weeks. Because AI doesn't need chips anymore. It needs lasers. It needs transceivers. It needs fiber optics. It needs cooling. And it needs electricity and a lot of it. And it needs massive AI infrastructure capable of connecting all of it together at scale. So today, we're going to break down the companies NVIDIA is investing in and what those investments tell us about the future of AI, and then look at the critical companies that may be missing from the stack. The first thing that stands out from the CNBC report is just how broad NVIDIA's investment strategy has become. This is no longer just a semiconductor company. NVIDIA is investing across nearly every layer of the AI ecosystem. The company's biggest investment is OpenAI. NVIDIA reportedly committed around $30 billion into the ChatGPT creator earlier this year. And that alone tells you how important NVIDIA believes in the AI infrastructure demand could become over the next decade. But it goes far beyond OpenAI. This week alone, NVIDIA agreed to invest up to $2.1 billion into IREN.
The latest, a partnership with data center company IREN that you talked about, that gives NVIDIA the right to invest up to $2.1 billion in the company, plus a commitment to deploy up to 5 gigawatts of NVIDIA aligned AI infrastructure. NVIDIA will also lease back GPU cloud services from IREN under a separate $3.4 billion deal that it's going to last over 5 years for its own internal AI and research workloads.
And this is important because IREN is becoming an AI infrastructure and power capacity story. The deal reportedly includes plans to deploy up to 5 gigawatts of NVIDIA AI infrastructure designed globally, and that is massive. Some future AI campuses may eventually consume electricity comparable to entire cities, and that means power availability itself may become one of the biggest bottlenecks in AI. So here we have why power matters. More GPUs equals more power. AI factories are massive as they take close to 5 gigawatts of power, which is equal to millions of homes in one city. You have an NVIDIA and IREN partnership deploying up to 5 gigawatts of AI infrastructure globally. And then you have the power plus performance. Without reliable power, AI innovation slows. The global build-out powering AI campuses around the world. AI also struck a deal with Corning, allowing NVIDIA to invest up to $3.2 billion into the company. Corning is building optical technology facilities tied to NVIDIA infrastructure, fiber optics. And this is one of the clearest signs yet that AI is rapidly moving towards optical connectivity. Fiber optics are becoming increasingly critical as AI clusters scale larger and larger. And then you have Marvel. NVIDIA has reportedly invested around $2 billion into Marvel as part of its Silicon Photonics partnership. Marvel is heavily involved in DSP chips and high-speed connectivity inside the AI infrastructure. In simple terms, as AI systems scale, moving data efficiently becomes just as important as compute itself. NVIDIA is also invested in Lumentum and Coherent and Lumentum. Both companies are deeply connected to optical networking and photonics technologies. And this is where things start to get really interesting because many of the companies NVIDIA is investing in all point to one major theme. And lastly, they invested in CoreWeave and Nebius to expand AI compute infrastructure as well. So AI is increasingly run into optical communication. It's not copper, not traditional networking, but light. For the past several years, most investors have focused almost entirely on GPUs, and that made sense. GPUs became the engine powering AI boom, but now the bottlenecks are starting to expand beyond compute. AI infrastructure now needs more networking, more optical connectivity, more cooling, more electricity, more data centers, and more fiber optics. This is no longer just a chip race. It's becoming a global infrastructure race. And I think NVIDIA understands that better than most anybody. Because if you map out their investments, you can clearly see the direction that they're moving. They're investing in cloud infrastructure, optics, networking, photonics, AI campuses, power capacity, fiber optic connectivity. In other words, NVIDIA appears to be building an entire ecosystem around AI. And that's where some of the other companies we've discussed on this channel become very interesting. One company that immediately stands out to me is AAOI, Applied Optoelectronics. AAOI builds optical transceivers. AI scaling becomes much more difficult. The industry is already moving towards 800G, 1.6T, and eventually even faster optical connectivity because GPUs are useless if they cannot communicate efficiently. Another company is Arista Networks. AI clusters generate enormous amounts of east-west traffic inside data centers, and that traffic has to be managed somewhere. And Arista has become one of the leaders in high-speed AI networking and switching. And in many ways, AI factories need traffic control systems, and that's exactly what networking companies help provide. And then there's Vertiv. Vertiv is one of the biggest overlooked parts of AI at the moment. Vertiv is the leader in cooling and power management. And as rack densities continue moving higher, thermal management becomes increasingly more important. AI infrastructure consumes enormous electricity, and all that heat has to go somewhere. Vertiv sits directly in the middle of that trend. Another interesting name is Sivers. Sivers makes lasers along with Lumentum and Coherent. The company has partnerships connected to 1.6T optical solutions and energy efficient photonics designs. They've been developing DFB laser technology tied to optical ecosystems. One of the biggest long-term themes inside AI infrastructure may ultimately become power efficiency, because eventually AI doesn't just need more compute, it needs efficient compute, efficient networking, efficient optics, and efficient power usage. I think what we're watching now is the AI trade evolving into the next phase. Phase one was dominated by GPUs, but phase two may increasingly be about infrastructure surrounding GPUs, optics, fiber, power, cooling, networking, AI campuses, and companies helping connect massive AI systems together globally. And that's why NVIDIA investment strategy matters so much, because NVIDIA isn't just telling us where AI is today. They may be signaling where AI is going next. And many of the companies connected to those bottlenecks are still dramatically smaller than NVIDIA itself, which means AI demand continues accelerating. And some of these second order infrastructure companies could become increasingly important over the next several years. NVIDIA may still be the center of the AI universe, but AI is becoming too large for one company to solve. And that's why the next phase of this market may not just be about who holds the chips, but who builds the infrastructure that allows AI to scale globally. So AI eventually will be in North America, Europe, Asia, Middle East, Africa, and South America, and they will all be connected. And this is where NVIDIA sees the future, building the infrastructure that connects it all. So let me know in the comments, which company do you think NVIDIA's ecosystem is still missing? And if you enjoy finding emerging AI infrastructure opportunities before they become mainstream, check out the membership below at buymeacoffee.com. Many of the companies we discussed today are names we already have been tracking closely on this channel for the last few weeks. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.